Welcome to the Torah podcast, where we explore the weekly Parsha, uncovering valuable insights and striving to become the best versions of ourselves through Musar teachings. This week's episode is dedicated in honor of my nephew who will become a Bar Mitzvah this Shabbos. As he takes this momentous step into Jewish adulthood, accepting the yoke of mitzvos, it seems particularly fitting that we will discuss a parsha that challenges us to embrace divine wisdom, even when it transcends our understanding. May he grow in Torah, Avoda, and Gemilas Chasadim, and may he always approach the Torah with both the curiosity to question and the faith to accept. By the way, if any of you will be there to potentially hear me speak at the Simcha this Shabbos, a personal favor, please don't start joining me word for word as I deliver my speech. I know the podcast might make you feel like we're old friends, but trust me, having a live course echo my Dvar Torah would be a bit overwhelming for my nephew, not to mention for the rest of my family. On the other hand, it would give my nephew something he would never forget, so maybe. In this week's Parshas Chukas, we encounter what is perhaps the Torah's most mysterious mitzvah, the Parah Adumah, the Red Heifer. This completely red cow, whose ashes were used in purification, presents us with one of the Torah's greatest paradoxes. While it purifies those who have become tameh through contact with death, it makes the pure person who prepares it impure. This paradox was so profound that even King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech, renowned as the wisest of all men, declared about this mitzvah, Amarti Echachma vihi rechoka mimeni. I thought I could understand it, but it remained far from me. Throughout generations, our greatest scholars have sought to understand the deeper meanings behind this commandment. Rav Henoch Leibowitz, Zecher Levracha, offers us a profound insight about the Parah Adumah that extends beyond this specific mitzvah to touch on our everyday spiritual growth. He teaches that sometimes what appears as a small shortcoming in a great person is actually quite significant precisely because of their spiritual level. This principle helps us understand the paradox of the Parah Adumah. What seems contradictory to our limited human understanding makes perfect sense within Hashem's divine wisdom. The apparent contradiction teaches us something essential: humility in the face of divine laws that transcend our understanding. Not everything needs to be fully comprehended to be embraced. Sometimes, acceptance of the mystery itself is the pathway to spiritual growth. This concept emerges again later in our Parsha, after Miriam's passing. The miraculous well that provided water to the Jewish people in the desert disappeared. When the people complained about the lack of water, Hashem instructed Moshe to speak to a rock to bring forth water. Instead, Moshe struck the rock, and as a consequence, he was told that he wouldn't enter the promised land. At first glance, this punishment seems extraordinarily harsh for what appears to be a minor deviation. However, Chazal teach us that Moshe, being on such a high spiritual level, was held to an exceptionally high standard. This teaches us a profound life lesson. As we grow in knowledge and responsibility, we are held to a higher standard. What might be overlooked when we are younger becomes our responsibility to address as we mature. Rav Shlomo Wolbe, in his classic work Alei Shor, offers complementary guidance on how to bridge the gap between intellectual understanding and heartfelt connection. While Rav Henoch shows us the importance of understanding our spiritual responsibilities, Rav Wolbe guides us in making these teachings part of our innermost being. He emphasizes that true faith isn't just knowing something with your mind, but feeling it in your heart. Rav Wolbe advocated for a practice he called hislamdos, teaching oneself through contemplation of everyday experiences. When applied to the laws of Parah Adumah, this approach invites us not to just study these laws intellectually, but to contemplate their paradoxical nature as an act of faith that transforms our relationship with Hashem from a mere intellectual exercise to a heartfelt connection. Through Rav Wolbe's practice of contemplation, we can bring our intellectual understanding into our hearts. As we conclude this episode of Musar Torah, let's remember that the mysterious nature of the Parah Adumah isn't a barrier to our spiritual growth, but an invitation to deeper, more profound connection with Hashem. By embracing the paradoxes of our tradition with humility and faith, we open ourselves to greater spiritual heights. Thank you for joining me this week on the Musar Torah podcast. Until next time, may we all merit to grow in our avodas Hashem. Have a good Shabbos.